Well, shalom. So, alright guys, welcome. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to be doing a complete engine teardown on the Mazda Miata. So, we took this sucker out because it was just completely screwed up. We thought we could fix it, put the head back on, didn't work, yada yada yada. So now we're tearing the engine down because we're planning on doing a rebuild. So, this is going to be a complete, like, if you're a nerd, you're probably going to love this. If you're not a nerd, you might be a little bored. We'll see. We'll try to make it interesting. But we're going to try to go over the little details when it comes to this that usually we don't cover. So today we're going to try to cover that. And we're going to basically just tear it down. We're going to inspect everything and see how bad the pistons are, the rings, the rods, the crank, all that stuff. See what we can reuse and what we can't. And then we'll just go from there.
Yeah. So the plan is, once we figure out what's wrong with it, we're gonna see about if the pistons are bad, we'll get some pistons that are made for a turbo that will give us a better, I think, compression ratio, right?
Yeah, we want to lower the compression ratio.
So we want a lower compression ratio because under forced induction, it causes more pressure to build in the chamber. Therefore, a lower compression ratio will help save the engine over time, right?
Yeah,
that
basically.
Right? Okay,
that's a very simplified version.
Yes,
yes,
I'm trying to learn that. He knows the scientific terms. I'm trying to make it simple. And then also, we definitely need rings. It's a big reason we're rebuilding this. The head, we know, is probably warped because when we put the head gasket on, it still leaked oil out of the whole left side of the engine.
And you can kind of see here because we use copper.
Exactly.
And you can see where the copper is here, 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 all around. And then if you look over here, there's almost no copper. And that's also where we saw oil getting out of the block. So it's either the block or the head that's warped.
And it's highly unlikely it's the block. We think because the head's aluminum and the block's iron. Typically, the weaker metal is going to warp first. So we're thinking the head warped way back. Back when I was racing this, we were in the middle of a race, and I noticed it started to overheat, and I just kept going. So it got past the hot. It started boiling over and everything. I shouldn't have ran it. I was 16 at the time, so please don't judge me for my sins of my past.
It's okay.
So now, I think at that point is when it really damaged it, because we've had nothing but problems since then, and I think once we went turbo, it aggravated it even more, and then at this last event, when I was just banging limiter the whole time, that's what sent it. So I think that's why it's toast, and we're going to fix it, and we're going to make it legit, and it's going to be nice, and this car's going to look sick when it's done, because once I get that engine in, then I get to paint it, and then it'll be done. Well, relatively, then I still got to dial it in, but I'm excited.
It's going to be nice. So the first thing that we got to do is we got to get this rear main seal off. Once we get that off, then we can work on getting the engine stand and putting that sucker on here. So that's the first thing that we're going to do.
Oh, I see. I got it.
Austin just made a discovery, and
That's my crankshaft.
That's his crankshaft. Yeah. So it's okay. This is all part of the learning process.
Remain.
So now we got the rear main off. We're going to get the mount from the engine stand and put it on there. Alright, so now we got this thing back on here. Getting it ready to go on. Austin's working on getting that. Since we don't have the head still on, we don't have the little lift point to lift it up. So we're going to mount it on the little cherry picker and then mount it up on this thingy.
Oh, please.
It's fine. It's just twisting. So we're going to lift the engine stand and put the engine stand and connect it to this and then lower it down. Seems to be one of the easier ways to do it. There we go. Let's go down slow.
Sitting right there, you go.
Okay, now it should be. Where's the pin at?
On my hand.
No, that's good. Now we're just going to take the rope off and get that sucker down now that it's hanging on the engine stand.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Alright, guys. So, starting off, now that we've had the head off of here and we got the block onto the engine stand, we're going to start by taking off these cam gears. So, there's a little trick you can do. Get a 24 or somewhere around that. I'm going to be using an adjustable wrench and this 15/16 because it happens to fit right over pretty snugly on this one. So, what you do is you take your two wrenches, cross them over like that, and some vice grips. And then you're going to hold it in place. That way when you undo these bolts, the cams can't move. Not good. So just like that. So now we're going to take our 14 And we're going to remove these bolts right here, and that will pull these off, these cam gears. Oh, dang. I gotta hold that down.
So, guys, just little FYI, whenever you're doing this, be very careful with these things, because doing it that way, while we weren't recording, it literally, one of the wrenches, this one in particular, it would go like this, right? And then as you're turning to the left, what happens is it goes like this, and it frees itself, and the whole thing turns and smacks you right in the face. And he's going to probably have a black lip from this one. It's already swollen.
It's already swollen?
Yeah, it's already swollen.
Oh, great. That's going on my face.
Not good. So be very careful. And we did a big no-no, but we ended up using this old guy right here. And just zip them off. It was a lot easier. Just very carefully do it. So
do it on a low setting. I definitely don't lean over it when you're trying to jerry-rig something and get it working.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't end up like me.
His position when he was doing this was like this. So he had the wrench.
Yeah.
He had the wrench like this, and he's here, and he goes to do it, and his face is like right here with the wrench, and it goes, bam! That's pretty much what happened.
Maybe this is some sort of karma from that. Maybe this is from me talking shit about, like, you know.
No, I think it was just a mistake. They happen.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you're just gonna have a swollen ass lip.
I don't even want to go to the gym now. I'm gonna walk in.
You don't have
People
to.
are gonna think I'm like getting in fights and stuff, and let alone I've never been in a fight in my life. I just happened to hurt myself a lot. I hit myself in the eye socket one time while I was adjusting coilovers. I always hurt myself somehow, but it's always usually my fault. Negligence. So no, safety not third, safety first.
Yeah, well.
Common sense first. I don't have that, obviously.
Okay, so now we got Mr. Injured Man, and he's gonna continue the process of whatever you want to call tearing apart this cylinder head, getting it ready for machine work. Oh. Can you do it with one hand?
I got this.
Okay, so we're just in here taking off the bolts to the front portion of the timing cover, and
we're pretty sure this has
getting
been
all this stuff off.
We're pretty sure this has been rebuilt because there's black RTV on it. And like Kyle said to me earlier, factories usually use gray RTV if they use any at all, but not black.
Yeah, so interesting. Don't forget to label everything. Hold all your bolts, keep them where they go, and mark them. It's going to make the reassembly so much easier, because when we get done, there's going to be millions of little bolts floating around. It's the best way to keep track of this stuff.
Boom. So, to get the water neck off, it's a 12. Yeah, I thought you were playing on me. I just need to use an impact to get it. Dude, look at how, smell that.
That's probably
you can smell that
terrible.
from there. It smells pretty terrible. It smells like coolant and oil.
Yum. My favorite. Next step's going to be getting these little bitches out of here. By bitches, I mean cams. Let's do it.
Alright guys, so now what we're going to be doing is finally the moment of truth. We're going to be taking out the cams. So there's going to be a specific order. I have to look it up online, but it's going to be something like this. It's going to be like boom, 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 boom. Because
that was very scientific.
Because if you take out, let's say if you just take out from left to right, these springs and from what I understand, the springs are still pushing onto the I can't think of the name right now. Lifter. There we go. Lifter. And because it's pushing on there, it will add more force to the rear end if I'm pulling it in.
It puts more force on the rear end.
Yeah, of the cam, and it can also it can bend things. It's not good, okay?
Oh.
There's a specific order for a reason, and I don't know that reason.
So it can bend things.
It can break things. It's not good. That's the bottom
so
line.
basically, what I think Austin's trying to say is just follow the pattern that's going to be up right here when you remove your cams. Now we're going to go and remove our cams. Enjoy. Okay, so Austin's over here basically marking up the valves. Basically, he's putting on there a marking to say which one it's for. So what he's doing is he's labeling based off of the cylinder. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got intake side and exhaust. and each one. So it would be like on this one, it would be E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, 7, E8, and then the opposite on the intake. It's just so that way we can keep track of what's what. And again, if you guys don't have a workbench, I got a video on how to make one of these. It cost me like 75 bucks.
It's making life so much better.
It really does. So if you want to check it out, it's going to be up here.
That was in my
oh, what's this?
metal. That was in my...
Is that a chunk?
It's a chunk.
Oh, that's not good. Whoa, dude, that's like straight up metal. I can feel it. It's solid. I don't know what that's from. Oh boy. Okay, so now we got them all nice, shiny, and marked. So we got that, and then over here we got all of our caps. They're all
lined up in order.
We're gonna put them in order after we get the head out of the way. But on these, we were inspecting them, and we found this one here. But do you see these little nicks right here? Those little things that look black on screen? Those are some solid ass nicks. They're pretty deep. So one of the things that we do when we're checking these things to see how they are is like on this one, it's got some scratches.
Holy shit.
So one of the things that we're checking, you can see here, it's kind of hard to tell, but that's not oil. Those are scratches. Is you run the back side of your fingernail on it, and if you can feel it catch, that means that that's a groove that's been worked into it. You shouldn't be able to feel that on a bearing. Okay, versus like this one, I can run my finger and it doesn't get stuck at all. And I'm being very gentle, just like I was on the other one. So yeah, so that one's not good. And this one's been nicked pretty bad. So we're gonna have to figure out what to do with these. But for the most part, we'll figure it out.
There's another chunk of metal.
So you found another chunk of metal? Where was it from?
It was in the bottom
that's
of my
like
head.
That's like that could just be shavings.
Yeah, non-existent.
It's not a big deal. So now we're just pulling these suckers out.
Bastards.
They're kind of tough to get out because it's like a perfect fit. So you got to really work it. Use like paper towel. Well, one of these kind of towels because they don't leave as much residue. And or use some gloves or something and just pinch it and work it out, and it should come out. Okay, so at this point, we have all of our lifters out. We got all these done. Now, if we were going to get the cams done and like redo, we may have to get this align board. We don't know yet. If you do, then you're going to want to keep your caps and put them on there, whatever. You can even bring to some shops with the cams in it, but they will charge you more. We're trying to save money, so if we don't have to mess with this, we won't. And we're just going to have them mess with the head, get it nice and decked and planed and everything, and then it'll be good to go. But if we end up getting cams or doing whatever with that, then we'll have to send it with it. So, should be good though. So Austin's just over here. He's going to take off all the miscellaneous accessories and brackets and shit, and then we'll move on to the next. Alright, so Austin's under here. He's taking off the oil pan. There's a whole buttload of bolts. And then we got this little puppy here. So we got boom, boom, and then all the ones here. We got there, and then it goes all the way around, boop, 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 to there. And then we're just going to lift this puppy up.
Now we removed all of the bolts. We are going to remove this oil pan. Ooh.
So one thing, when you're under here, you can use a little pry bar. But you got to be very, very careful. You don't want to bend your oil pan, but there's a little spot there where you can get it on. And you just want to break the seal enough to where you can then lift it up.
Well, we come around here.
And now you just got to wiggle it around the pickup tube inside it. Somebody's riding the struggle bus today.
I know, dude. First I busted my face, and then now I can't even get an oil pan off.
Dang, son. It's almost there.
Is there a trick to it?
You're just getting stuck on the pickup tube. This is the stuff y'all gotta watch out for when you're doing this, because it's gonna be a pain in the butt. It's this little tube that flies up under there towards the back of the sump. Sometimes it could be a pain in the butt to get around it. As Austin is clearly finding out right now. It's a total pain in the booty. Drain plug won't save you, sir. So right now we're just taking off the lower timing gear. It was just one bolt. Just zip that off of an impact. And now we're just working on getting this gear out, which is appearing to be stuck.
Alright, so to do this we had to remove the little key that was in the keyway. And then we were able to pull the gear right okie dokie. So we just found out you just can't be a bitch, and you gotta just rip it off. So came over here, ripped off the oil pan, and this is all that's really left in my gasket. This piece goes right up here, but as you can tell, there's a little bit of RTV, and that's pretty much it. So now we got to get this windage tray and oil pickup out of the way. That way we can finally see our crank and our bearings and all that good stuff. Hey, look at that.
That's what we're working with. So the next step is going to be basically taking out these caps and everything, but we're going to have to mark everything. Although, did Mazda mark these too? Yeah, they did.
There we go.
Boom. There's the oil pump. Okay, so I don't know why on this engine here it's got a 4 marking on that, but none of the other caps have markings. So we're thinking this thing's either been rebuilt before or something. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our own stamps. And we're going to literally just tap in the number ourselves.
But how hard do I hit it?
Just tap it till it makes a mark, until you can read it. Okay. Did it do anything?
Nothing.
Okay, we're going to have to get a hammer that can actually hit. So, 1 second. Just try to be very careful not to screw this up. Some people are probably going to frown at me for this because, yeah, but whatever. You got to mark these things so we know which one's for which. And now it's got a 1. Sweet.
There we go.
That looks like a 5A.
Yeah. Take it away, Cal.
Alright, so next, we're going to go through here very carefully. And we're going to go from front to back. You don't have to go front to back. You go back to front. Doesn't matter. But you're going to be very careful when you're removing the nuts from the connecting rods, because the last thing you want to do is bend something. And we need to make sure that we keep these caps together. We're going to eventually mark them and make sure we put the right things on there. So we're going to take these off and we're going to pull the piston. But before we pull the piston out, we're going to run some tubing onto these studs so that way we don't scratch the crankshaft or the sleeves of the cylinder wall. And that's very, very important. Don't skip that step, because otherwise you're going to be paying extra money to get your crankshaft fixed, or, you know, redoing the bores in your cylinders, which we're doing anyway, but it's just one of those things. Just gotta be careful. You always gotta wear a sleeve.
We have a big old bucket of tubing around here, so
yeah,
this should fit fine.
So we'll make it work. So now we'll show you guys. We'll just pull all this stuff out and show you the next step. Okay, so here's the thing. When you do this, you got to do it in reverse order of the way that you would install these. So
what we're doing is, this would be your first, your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. There you go.
Yeah, in that order, but only a quarter turn. Quarter turn.
Until it's like hand tight.
Pop it up.
Once it's hand tight, it doesn't really matter, because they're all loose by then.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure it gets done evenly so that you don't mess anything up. I know I'm not one to talk when it comes to that kind of stuff, but I'm trying to go legit.
It's all good. We're going to get there. Key is dead blow hammers. It's like our version of a maraca.
Hit it again. You try it. Watch. You're going to get mine, because, oh my god, I even caught my foot on the... You know what I missed?
Struggle bus. Your bearings are fucked. I mean, your engine needs a rebuild no matter what. Dude, that is nuts. Careful, don't hit the crank. Just hit the crank. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Ah, see, I was wiggling it wrong way.
Yeah. What type of oil are you using?
1030?
Right, but I mean, what type?
Oh, I'm not using synthetic.
You're not.
No, I was gonna plan on switching here.
Well, I would definitely suggest on the next build that we do that.
Yeah, no.
Not during break-in though. You need basic oil during break-in. So now comes the moment we've all been waiting for. Getting this crankshaft out of the engine. Lift very carefully straight up and don't. There you go. Now, one key thing about these crankshafts is that you can't lay them on their side. You got to stand them straight up. So when we go over here, we're going to put it down on our workbench very carefully. and we're going to set it up like this. The reason is because if you lay it on its side, it can twist and bend and do all kinds of stuff that you don't want that thing to do. So you store it like this. Obviously, if we were going to do something special, we would just wrap it in like saran wrap and stuff, but this thing's going to a shop soon, so I'm not too worried about it. Yeah. And we'll go and inspect all these parts, and then we'll show you guys what we found, because it's pretty nasty.
Yeah.
So we'll do that, and then the block's pretty much ready.
Should we check out the, I gotta take the oil squirters out.
Yeah, last step is these little oil squirters that sit in here. So we gotta pop those out real quick. That's not that big of a deal. But then after that, the last step that you gotta do before you take your engine to the engine machine shop is you'll put your main caps back on, because they need those. And then you just bring them your crankshaft and whatever else. So yeah. Now just slide none of these out so that way we can identify what's wrong with them, see if there's any other damage. Give us an idea of just how much this whole thing's going to cost. Got all the bearings out, and now we're going to flip it and inspect the bores and see what they look like. Kind of hard to see from down here. Okay guys, so you might have a little bit of trouble seeing, but you can kind of see some of the stuff that's in here. Some of these, they actually don't look too terrible. Like, they're not great. We got some really bad marks in there. Some of them have lines from where the rings were. But I mean, overall, it's not bad. They'll easily be able to bore these out, no problem. No major, like, cracks or anything that's, like, at least not visually. So, okay, so if you look in there, you can see there's still some cross-hatching. And that's kind of the same story on some of these. They still look decent for the most part. If we were doing this at home and we just want to do it cheaply, we could probably just hone it ourselves and it would probably be fine. It's not that bad. But yeah.
Seeing we're doing all this other stuff, we're already bringing it to a machine shop. Depending on how much they charge, we might just have them do it. But it all depends on the money, because for me, it all comes down to numbers.
Yep, so we'll see. Alright, so now we got just everything piled up here. You could see that basically we got all these things lined up. We got all the main bearings, everything like that. One of the big things we noticed is that these things were definitely worn. There was definite signs that this thing was over revved. It's hard to see on camera sometimes, but there are like little lines and stuff in some of these where it's just, where basically there was no oil when there should have been oil. And of course it'll run right now the way that it is, but you can see these bearings even. They're not terrible. I've seen way worse, but they're definitely been through some stuff. And then over here, the rods. These are the ones that were, some of these were some of the worst. Okay, so here's a good example. This is a prime example of why you want to use good oil and not over rev your engine, because this was just a little bit far away from just completely spinning and destroying itself. This one over here is basically the same story. Again, this is what happens when you hit rev limiter a million times a second. Yeah. And let's see. Oh, there's another one. Yep, that one's definitely it's seen better days. Better days. So yeah, every single one of these things is pretty much screwed up.
Oh.
You needed the camera?
No, yeah, I was gonna ask. I was like, so are you telling me that piston gap is like thigh gap? The more rubbing, the better.
Okay, guys, let's see. So yeah, that's pretty bad. Pretty much all the pistons had that on the sides, which is normal. Those things will rock a bit, but some of this was pretty excessive. You can see there, and that's where some of those lines were that we saw on the yeah, look at that. It's not good. Look at that. Damn, that is really bad. And then this last one. But this last one, look, this last one's not bad. This last one's perfectly okay. I mean, it's not perfect, but like compared to those, not terrible. But yeah, so red line every day, what they say, right? So anyway, guys, that's how you tear down your Miata engine, get it ready to bring it to the engine shop. It's pretty much ready to go, so all we're gonna do now is just button everything up, and hopefully Monday we're gonna get this thing out there. I don't know when you're going to see this video, but it's going to be Monday for us. And then we're going to take it down to the machine shop and do all that good stuff and figure out just how much all this is going to cost. And we're going to try to price out and save what we can. It looks like we may or may not be able to save the rods. Just depends. Pistons, not so much.
And we're hoping that this will all be under about $1,000. That's kind of where we're at. We're hoping.
We'll see.
We'll see how it goes at the machine shop. That's really what we're waiting on now. The whole goal today was to get this ready for the machine shop because we don't know how long they're going to take. And I know I will not be ready for the next drift event. So I'm just going to be here to help with the BMW or the RX-7 and getting that ready.
So stay tuned, guys. We got a lot more coming.
And remember, always keep drifting simple. And don't redline all day. It's a terrible idea. Have you seen my bearings?
Insert clip of the last drift event here.
I think I'm going to keep it in first gear. Because that's where my most power band is. Yeah, okay. Alright.
We'll see y'all later. So check this out. I don't know if you can see what this is, but that's a freaking snake skin. He shed his skin inside here.